Hello, good evening. Happy Tuesday. I'm Allison, and you are watching Live with Gotham Quilts. You might notice I've got a little bit of a different background. You've seen me in a couple of different places, but this one is new. This week, we are celebrating bringing all of our notions over to the Gotham website. So you'll be able to shop your favorite, your most needed, and hopefully some of my most favorite notions. And I'll tell you why you need all of these in just a minute, or why they'll help you up your sewing game for things that you might be struggling with, is maybe a better way to put that. But I decided to bring you into my home, my sewing room, so that I could show you the things that I reach for every day. And these are just some of the things that I found out about a little too late in life. So I hope you don't make the same mistake. And B, the things that help me make sewing more enjoyable every day. And that's really what the notions are about, right? Is to make this a much more pleasurable experience, right? So here you are. Welcome to my home. It's a relatively new sewing room for me. One of the rites of passage is my son just recently flew the coop. We are empty nesters now, and so one of the it was very bittersweet, but the sweeter part of that is then I get to turn his room into a sewing room. And so we did a little bit of rearranging in the house, and so here I am in my new home in the basement of our house in Minnesota. So you'll have to let me know if you've made it through that kind of rite of passage, is turning one of your children's bedrooms into a sewing room, an exercise room, just something to make use of that in the house. Or if we do have an extra room here where he is always welcome to come back if he needs to. So far, he is loving life, living on his own, and being a grown up. So gosh, only too soon he will find that adulting is really not all it's cracked up to be, is it? In any event, so welcome to my sewing room. And yes, I do promise you that I threw a bunch of stuff in drawers before I filmed this. So it's not generally this neat, and you are only really seeing the neatest part of all of this. But let's get into it. Let's talk about notions. Now, there are a million different ways to do any given thing. And so some of the notions that I'm going to bring to you today are really just, we get access to a lot of notions here at the shop. We get to test them out when our reps come to visit. Hey, this new thing is on the market. And some of the things we found are really fantastic that I've incorporated into my sewing, like the Femore cutter. If you've ever heard me talk about the Femore cutter, it is an amazing one. It's a rotary cutter with a ball bearing in there. And mine is actually all the way on the other side of the room, in one of those drawers that I threw things in. So I don't have it to show you, but you've heard me talk about it before. You've probably heard me show it too. It uses the ball bearing instead of friction. So you can tighten that blade down just as tight as you need to, as tight as you feel comfortable doing, and it's not going to restrict the movement. But that's a bonus notion. These ones, let's get into it. Let me talk about the things that have helped me out. Now, this is one of them. This one is a new one from the shop because I don't think you want to see the ones that I've been using. But these are some cleaning tools. Now, whatever cleaning tools you use, it's important to clean your sewing machine. Cleaning is not fun, but cleaning your sewing machine keeps it happy, keeps it healthy, and keeps it working for you. Plus, these are really cute. It's way better than cleaning the bathroom, that's for sure. We like these ones at the shop, especially because they are reusable. They're silicone, so you can wash them off, you can get the gunk off. And really what it does is you've got a couple of different sizes in there to get into all the nooks and crannies of your sewing machine. So you definitely want to clean that probably more often than you're doing. My first sewing machine, I don't think I ever cleaned it until I was fully an adult, maybe like 5 years ago. And I'm like, oh, I probably should have treated this sewing machine a little bit better. But it's still alive. It's still kicking. And it probably would have done a better job on some of the things I sewed had I taken better care of it. So whatever brushes you like to use, brushes are always the preferred way to clean your sewing machine, as opposed to like a can of compressed air. Compressed air can sometimes, it's a little too forceful, and sometimes it can jam that lint into places where it really shouldn't be. The cleaning tools are a great way to scoop that out, and you've got these lovely little bristles and different heads on there to keep those things in in the brush and not in your sewing machine. So that is thing I learned too late in life. Number one is clean your machine well. The other piece is find a needle that you like. And we definitely recommend, I love the super non-stick needles. Schmetz is an amazing brand of sewing machine needles. It's probably what we all have in our machines. They're kind of like the OG, the number one, and they are for a reason. Now, there are hundreds of different kinds of sewing machine needles. These ones I like because they are the right amount of sharpness for piecing. They've got a relatively sharp point, not the sharpest of all the needles, but sharp enough for what I'm doing. I also love these because they are non-stick. This here is the 70 size. There's 80, 90, 60, 100. There's all the different sizes that you could possibly need for quilting. But I like these for bag making. I do a lot of table runners, so I do a lot of fusible products. And so these ones are great. They give me just a little bit of insurance when I am going through those fusible products. If I didn't quite fuse them all the way, I get a little bit of insurance with this one. But that is another helpful tip too, is make sure that you're fusing those products all of the way so that you don't get a gummy needle. Baby wipes, like baby oil, sewing machine oil is another great one. So any kind of an oil product, if you get some fusible on your needle, just wipe it off with that oil product. Sewing machine oil, because we should all have it because we're taking care of our machines, right? Is a great way to get some sticky residue off your needles, and then take your project back to the ironing board and fuse that just a little bit more. But the super non-stick needles are the one that I like, but find something that you like. The other thing that I like this is, even if you don't use fusible, it really does glide through the fabric with that non-stick coating on there. So it helps piecing, especially, and even if you're using multiple layers, if you've got like where a lot of points come together, you're going through a lot of layers, and this just helps it out. And I can always tell when it's time to change my needle because it doesn't, it fights resistance a little bit. It doesn't glide through quite as easily as it normally does. So that is another reason that I like these. It's an indicator when it's time to change my needle, because otherwise I just use it until it breaks. So that's another thing that I learned too late in life, is change your needle. We can go through these super quickly, but this is another one that I keep by my sewing desk all the time. This one is a glue pen. And so this is helpful. It, like the OG, if you're thinking of a glue pen, it's English paper piecing. You can use this to glue your papers, or you glue your fabric to your papers, but I find that I use it so much more for bag making. If I have a really tight binding that I'm going to bind the inside for, I use the glue to stick it until I can get it to my machine. It's just so much easier and better than pins in some situations. I also use this if I have points coming together and I just want a little dab of glue to make sure that those points stay together. Sometimes just the thickness of a pin can change where those points come together. And so I find that glue it doesn't add any thickness, it doesn't add any color. And so this one I reach for when I've got some tricky points coming together, linings or bindings. Sometimes if I've got a weird curve for a binding, I'll use this to stick that down too. Lots of different glues to use, but this one I like because it's all purpose. I can use it for English paper piecing, for binding, for points, for all that stuff together. I don't need to have 5 different kinds of glue. Just this one does it. And it is completely washable. So it comes out once you wash your project. This one we've all seen, right? This one I keep right by my sewing desk, use it all of the time. And this is seam guide tape. And so it is a relatively thin, very, very, very low tack tape. And you put this right on the bed of your sewing machine to help guide you. I do this because I hate drawing lines on fabric, on half square triangles. If I've got, 100 of these things, I don't want to draw 100 lines. And so I will use this tape and then just use that to line up my points and sew on through. You've got the middle red line where if you are intending to sew right on the line that you are drawing, or they're asking you to draw, you could use that. And then you've got a 1/4 inch on either side, so you can line those up too. If I've got like your For example, if you don't have a needle that could move, like there's a lot of different ways to use this, but the middle line and the 1/4 inch on each side really helps get you through all sorts of different scenarios. Mostly for half square triangles is kind of where I use this too. But I also can use it to line up my edges. There's another seam guide product that we talked about maybe 2 weeks ago, last week, that is absolutely fabulous. And that is a foam tape that you can butt your fabric up against. And so I will make sure to put that in the link. That one is on my sewing machine that's over there. So it was not on the plan to talk about today, but that's in one that I found very late in life. I found that one just um, maybe a month or so ago by one of our in-house sewists had seen it somewhere else. So that's another great thing about sewing is it's such a great community and we don't gatekeep here. Nope, we share all the secrets that help make sewing so much more fun and easy. Speaking of pins, I've got two fabulous things that I found relatively recently, and I'll start with the newest one, and that is this guy right here. This is a little pin caddy with a lid. Now, the reason that I like this is because very recently, only recently, did I become a social sewer. Mostly it was me sewing by myself, and you got everything where you need it. But now I've started to go to retreats, which is really very fun. Sometimes I'm not much of a social person, but this is a great way to get out and meet people and just be around others and share the craft and the love of the craft. The reason that this is so handy is because it's got a cap on it. So I can have my pin cushion, I can keep my pins safe. I'm not going to snap it on because I need to be able to get it off in just a second. And it is the strongest magnet I think I have ever seen. Drop your pins, no worries. You just use this, pick it up. It's got, kind of hoovers up the pins. The other thing I like about this one, other than the cap, is that this one has once you can take the top piece off, and it is in two different pieces. So here I've got my pin cushion, my pin magnet here. And down here, I've got a little case. Now, the reason I love this one is once I open it up, you can see there's a little place here. So when I'm off on retreat or if I'm off sewing somewhere else, I can put my used needles, I can put my blades, anything that's a sharp thing that needs special disposal, I can put it in here and save it and dispose of it when I get home through the normal mechanism to make sure that nobody gets hurt by those sharp things. So it's double duty. You could put M&Ms in there if you wanted to, but that's just how I use mine. Put the cap on, and then you're ready to travel and everything stays put and together like this. But it is, even just on its own, using at home, it's a fantastic pin magnet cushion. The other piece I will show you is, now I took all of mine out, but this is I think it's called 321 pin. They're labeled on both sides. They come in a case like this. So you can leave it as the heart, or you can twist it and have it be a little egg-shaped thing. There's 4 different compartments with which to keep your pins, and you can see I just have a couple in here, but I put mine in a pin cushion like this. It looks a little bit like a porcupine. This I love because when I do something, now I am a complicated sewer. The more complicated, the better. Now, that doesn't mean I finish it, but those are the projects that I lean towards. And so there are a lot of different pieces generally, and they need numbering. So you can see here, I've got mine all organized by letters, and on the other side is the number. So you've got every letter, A through Z, and then on the other side, you've got numbers 0 through 25, 0 through 25. And so together you can number all sorts of things. These are also really handy when it comes to labeling your rows or your blocks when you're putting them together. You can keep them all organized and you don't ever have to say, oh, what is this piece? Or remeasure it to say, oh, it's the 4.5 by 2.5. And now I remember. So these are lovely. But what's more lovely about these is I love them just as pins. They are just the right amount of flexible, and they are the right length. They are also super duper duper sharp and polished, so they slide through the fabric very nicely. They're about 1.5 inches long, a little bit more than that with the point, but that is why I use them just as regular pins too, just because of all those things, the perfect length, the perfect sharpness, the perfect thinness, to not adjust your fabric too much. So I love them as pins. I love them as labeling. And these are the ABC cool pins in a kind of cute heart. I keep mine as the oval. It's just easier to store that way. But yeah, lots of different space to keep these things in there. Okay, and then the last thing is we did a whole show on marking pens not too long ago. I love to keep my Frixion pen handy. Now, I told you just a few minutes ago, I hate drawing lines on fabric. I try to get out of it whenever possible. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to draw a mark in something, and so I like this. The cap ones I find stay a little. They don't dry out quite as quick as the click kind. The click kind are more fun to use, but the cap one I find is more practical, especially if you don't use a Frixion pen a whole lot. Sometimes they can dry out. Dry out Frixion pen is no good. But these are, if you're not familiar with the Frixion pens, they are ink designed to disappear with heat. So that works on paper. If you're writing on paper, you can erase it. There's a little nubbin here that you could use that. But for our purposes, for quilters' purposes, you mark on your fabric, you hit it with an iron, the line goes away. Now, I would not recommend using these for your lines for quilting, for example, because they do at some point come back. Like if they can come back. So if your project gets cold, those lines can absolutely come back. Let's talk a little bit about, speaking of the Frixion pen, let's talk about heat. Let's talk about pressing. Now, let's see here. I lost my other camera. Oh, bummer. So we're just going to have to do this all front facing. That's okay. We're all friends here. We're on a roll. Let's talk about wool pressing mats a little bit. Now, wool pressing mats are a fabulous tool to use, and there's a couple of reasons that makes them so fabulous, and I'll show you this one because it's a little bit bigger, a little bit darker to see. Now, a wool pressing mat is felted wool. So if you are allergic to wool, this is not going to be for you. But what it is intended to do is you use it when you're pressing. You take your piece, and then you press it like you normally would. Now, there are a couple of things that make this really great for pressing. Number one is you could see how my fabric is sticking there. It's not moving. Unlike other unlike other ironing board surfaces, pressing surfaces, this is going to give you a little bit of gription to keep your fabric where it is. So you have a lesser risk of, if you're a smusher when you iron, you have a lesser risk of pressing these out and distorting them. It keeps the fabric where it is. It gives you this grippiness here. You can see that's not really going anywhere, to keep your fabric where it is so that you don't press and distort it. So that's benefit number one in my book, that's for sure. The other thing is, because this is felted wool, it absorbs and it reflects the heat. So it's almost as if you're pressing from both sides at the same time. You've got your iron on the top, and then the wool pressing mat itself is taking that heat and it's pushing it back up. The other thing is that it can absorb that moisture so that you don't have your fabric sitting in wet or damp. It basically just takes that and dissipates it and reflects it back up, and then you use your high iron and gets rid of it. So it does shorten the process to remove wetness, dampness from your fabric. Now, since I'm speaking of damp, I'm going to take just a little side break and tell you one thing that I learned just the other day. It's, how do you tell if something is damp or moist? Like a moist cake or a damp toilet. Those are, I guess it would be a moist towelette. This is the trick. It doesn't have anything to do with sewing unless you want to use it for your fabric. But I just thought it was kind of interesting, and since we're talking about damp, that damp is when it's not supposed to be. So a damp basement, a damp fabric, your damp block. Moist is when it is supposed to be damp or wet. So a moist cake or a moist towelette. So I know a lot of people don't like the word moist, so I'm going to stop saying that. But if you've ever wondered the difference of damp or moist, that's the last time. I guess, I don't know if it's an official rule of thumb, but I find that helps me in my everyday life, and hopefully it does for you too. But in any event, it keeps your fabrics from getting damp. What you're looking for in a wool pressing mat is, first of all, 100% wool. You're also looking for something that's at least half an inch thick. That's what we see most often, is that these wool pressing mats are about half an inch thick. So that's what you're looking for. And that is enough you get enough space in your felted wool to basically absorb that heat and reflect it back up. Anything less than that, you're basically just pressing right through, and it's not really much better than that. So those are the things you're looking for. The last thing that you're looking for is something big enough for you to get your entire block on. This is a really great one to have right next to you at your table because it's small. You're probably just pressing like one block at a time, and it'll help you move through that so you don't have to get up, go to the ironing board, press, go to your cutting board, cut, sit back down. So those are a couple of things designed to help you with the wool pressing mat. So if you haven't used it, these are really very affordable. This is an 8.5 inch size one. It's about $10. There are lots of different sizes, bigger, smaller. You can get ones that cover your entire cutting board. But if you haven't tried it out, I highly recommend it, especially if you're looking for super flat seams. Another thing to help you get super flat seams is the Easy Press pen, but there's a pressing treatment as well. You could get it in a spray bottle. I like the pen the best because it is a little more targeted. You can see there's a nib there. And what you do here is, actually, I will take that example back, is when you've got your half square triangle, before you press it open, we'll do it this way because that's the way it's going. Before you press it open, you do your setting press. You press it closed to set the seam. Then you take this pen and you just draw on the line that you just sewn. Now, I like to do this on the outside. You could do it on the front side, or sorry, I like to do it on the wrong side. You could do it on the right side. But since I'm there, I'll just, draw the line there. Then after you've got your line of pressing treatment, you open her up, you hit it with the iron, and that pressing treatment will basically give you the flattest seams you've ever seen. Now, this is refillable. The end screws off and you can refill it. You can use it full strength. You can even try to start using it half strength. So we like to mix ours with half the treatment and half water. It makes it go a little bit further. And sometimes the full treatment is just a little more bang than you need for what you're working on. But I can promise you this will give you the flattest seams you've ever seen. Now, you might say, why are flat seams so important? And there are a couple of reasons for that. Is one, when your seams aren't super flat, basically you get a little bit of fabric in this area here. So when you're looking for a flat seam, basically what you're looking for is for everything to lay super duper flat. If you've got some of this fabric like eaten up with that, you're basically increasing your seam allowance. You're running out of fabric on the outside. Your block isn't going to be the finished size that you need to, because you got, an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch of fabric wrapped up in this seam here. Getting nice flat seams is going to get you the size blocks that you need. And you might say, well, 1/16 of an inch, but a 1/16 of an inch over 50 or 100 blocks, it really does start to add up. And so that's where it helps with accuracy. And I think accuracy leads to less frustration. So some of these tips and tricks are really like, you think, oh, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on pressing. And that's actually how I did too. I'm like, well, that's good enough. That's fine. It's pressed enough. But it really does help with accuracy, especially if you're doing something with a lot of little pieces. Now, if you are doing something where it doesn't matter, sometimes you just get, I guess the flatter, the neater the result. But if you're not working on a quilt that needs that, then I think you're just fine. So right tools for the right quilt for the right job. Not everything needs to be done with NASA precision, and that is okay. We are definitely not the quilt police here. But if you are finding frustration, if you are finding heartburn in my blocks are not the size they need to end up being, these are just some of the ways to help end that frustration. Another great tool that it actually a lot of these are around pressing. I don't know, but apparently pressing was kind of a hard. Another thing around pressing is a hot iron, or I'm sorry, most irons are hot. The good ones are a hot ruler. Now, this one is like a fabricy based ruler. This one's by Clover, but there's a bunch of different ones. This is great for measuring and pressing. And so, for an example, if you have come to a pattern where it says fold up a half-inch hem and then top stitch down, or like fold a half an inch and then fold another half an inch, I want to make sure that my half an inch is accurate. And so what I do there is I just take my fabric and I fold it over until I see half an inch. And then this ruler can get hot. I can press right over it. So I'll take the iron and just press right over it. And now I've got my half an inch right there. And so that is a hot ruler and how handy it is. Let's see here. Another thing with pressing, I'm telling you, pressing is going to make a difference, I promise. Probably more than anything else in your quilting journey. If you can get good results with pressing, I promise you everything will flow from that. And this one is a quilter's clapper. So a quilter's clapper is a piece of wood. There are tons of different shapes and sizes and weights. What you're looking for is something that is going to cover the size seam that you're working on. So this clapper, I think, is probably like 8 or 9 inches, I'm going to say. Probably a little bit more than that. And it would be perfect for this size block, because what you do is you press your seam, preferably on your wool cutting mat, and then you put your clapper down. And then what you could do is move on to the next one. Basically what you're doing is you're using the weight of the clapper and the absorbency of the wood of the clapper to both weigh down that seam that you just pressed and also suck the moisture out of it a little bit quicker than if it were just in the air. And so once it's cool, you take this off and then you get a much flatter seam. Now, I don't know that you necessarily need to use all of these things in conjunction. For example, the wool pressing mat and the pressing treatment and the clapper. A lot of these are designed to pick the tools that you like. If you want to reduce the chemicals that you're using in your quilter, a wool pressing mat and a clapper are a great way to get that done. If you want something that's a little more quick and move on to the next thing, the pressing treatment and wool mat, or pressing treatment and your normal cutting or pressing mat, your normal ironing board, work just fine, because this is as soon as the iron hits it, this is dry and you got your flat seam and you can move on with things. So really just giving you a lot of tools for you to choose from to pick the thing that works best for your sewing and how you work. But yeah, the clapper, you're looking for a hardwood, you're looking for something with a little bit of heft to it, a little bit of weight. Those are the two most important things to have in a clapper. And then a fun design is nice, but it's not really strictly necessary, is it? And then the last little piece I will tell you about, the tool that I tell you what, I found this way too late in life. In any event, is some kind of rotating mat. This is so handy. This one is a Fiskars. There's lots of different designs. We've got Creative Grids in the shop too. They make a really nice one. OmniGrid makes a really nice one that's a little bit smaller too. This is so very handy because it's like a turntable and it rotates around. It is fantastic for cutting or trimming down your blocks. Too long, too long. Did I put it on the cutting mat, cut the two, turn the whole thing, line it back up again, cut the two? Boy, this one is a game changer. And it just made things so much more pleasant. I don't hate half square triangles anymore because they're just not the pain that they used to be. Now, Ask me after I do 500 of them. I might have a very different story, but there are little tools that can help make things a little bit better. So I hope you had a lovely time sharing this time with me in my sewing room. And thank you so much for letting me show you the things that I learned way too late in life. And I hope that if you're finding that you have any of these problems, if your blocks aren't coming out the right size, if things seem short, if pressing has been a nightmare for you, I hope that some of these help you know at least where to go, what things to look for when you're looking for tools to help make things easier. And really, that's what the notions category is all about, is tools to help make this process easier, funner, faster, so that we can spend more time doing what we really want. So with that, thank you for that. We've got a couple of last housekeeping things. We'll call them housekeeping things. The first thing that I wanted to tell you all about is Notions. Like I say, we were at the top of the show. We are so excited to port over all of the Notions. That means we're coming along. There's not many categories left. So this week through Sunday, you're going to get a discount on Notions. 15% off anything in that Notions category. You just have to use the coupon code YAY Notions, YAYNOTIONS. The QR code here will get you to the Notions page to shop, but have fun around there, filter around. If there's something that you're looking for that you're not seeing, let us know. We want to know about all the cool notions that you have that maybe I haven't found yet. So help me keep growing on my sewing journey here. I'm going to mention our collage quilting virtual retreat just one last time. We've got a couple of extra books. We've got, I think now 1 or 2 extra seats here. The reason I wanted to bring it up is because we have just secured 3 different speakers to come speak throughout the weekend. And so if you are signed up for the retreat, we'll let you know exactly when those speakers are happening. I don't want to announce it yet because we haven't finalized the date and the time, but one of those teachers might have written the book that we're using. So I'm just saying, we're very excited to have some special speakers who are in the collage quilting world. So come with your questions, come with your whatever you want to know about that, because they're going to come and speak at our virtual retreat. Our collage quilting virtual retreat is all around collage quilting. So it's a little bit like applique, but a little less fussy, a lot more artistic, a little more improv-y, and it's a great way to use up those scraps. So if you've got scraps from the English paper piecing virtual retreat, this is a good one, a good way to use them. We are so excited about this particular virtual retreat. There are going to be videos to walk you through. So if you've never collage quilted before, it's a great way to get started, and you'll have access to those videos even after the retreat is done. But it's going to be a weekend of fun and fabulousness. We're going to have prizes and games, and like I said, some very, very special speakers throughout the weekend. Tomorrow is our March Thread Talk. Boy, this year is flying by, isn't it? So this one is Lena Owen and Laura Duran, and they are from Quilting with Latinas. They are going to be talking to us about what happens when fabric becomes a voice, which I think is especially salient right now when we've got some big feelings. I think a lot of people, the entire country has some big feelings about things, and especially if you saw what happened at QuiltCon with the influx of submissions, just reflecting what people are feeling in the moment. This, I think, is especially a great thread talk to listen to Lena and Lauren of Quilting with Latinas to say how we can turn our fabric and our thread into our voice, and it just seems very cathartic. It's going to be a very, very personal, very lovely talk, and we're very excited to have them. And then if you haven't signed up yet, we do have our April Thread Talks, which is also live. This is the future of quilting with Bianca Springer. This is going to be all about laser cutting with quilting and how our craft is, it's in my generation where quilting was, you take a template, you cut with scissors around it, and already now, like, look at just the changes that we've seen with quilting. So Bianca is here to share with us the future, what comes next, what we should be looking for on the horizon of quilting and the craft. And Bianca had a fabulous quilt featured in QuiltCon. We showed that last week. So if you haven't checked out last week's Live with Gotham Quilts, do that and you can catch a sneak peek of Bianca's quilts. It was absolutely gorgeous. So with that, I'll do one last reminder, and that is tomorrow, the first clue drops for the mystery so long. This one is called Luau. The pattern and the clues and the mystery are Hawaiian based, but your fabric does not have to be, your quilt does not have to be. You can use your stash. So this is a great one to sign up for. With any $50 purchase from either Gotham or Tiny Apple, you get entry to that. So if you want to join, it is not too late. Just send an email to us at gothamquilts.com and we can get you added again with any $50 purchase in the month of February or so far in March. Clues get emailed out to you. There are going to be 2 setting options at the end. So you can use your stash. You can use one of our kits. You can save the clues and work on them later. That works just fine. But it is a mystery so long, so you're not going to know the end layout reveal until Wednesday, April 1st. No fooling. That's when the reveal is dropped. So just let us know. We'll get you signed up. And you can use your stash and get started on that right away. But it is really fun and kind of cute. There's a heroine, Laura Langston, and she follows us through a mystery, a Hawaiian-based mystery, so we can all be dreaming, except for Eileen, who actually is living the Hawaiian dream there, if you're watching, Eileen. But all this to say, the clues of the quilt that you're sewing, your blocks that you're sewing, tie in with the Laura mystery, and it's just kind of a fun way to spend a little bit of time and get in that sewing room. So with that, the clues drop tomorrow, but if you see this after Wednesday, no biggie, we can send you those clues and get you caught up anytime. So with that, I would like to thank you so much. If I didn't mention any notions, if there are some things that make your life so much easier, don't be a gatekeeper. Share them in the comments. Let us know what you like, or if you also use any of the ones that I found, like I say, way too late in life, let me know. And we'll go from there. So thanks so much for joining us. We will see you next Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern with Live with Gotham Quilts, and we'll see you then.